On today's version of Carolina Panthers News Today, interim head coach Steve Wilks shakes things up on the coaching staff. PJ Walker has been named the starting quarterback for Thursday Night Football despite being benched in the previous game. We're going to talk about the Panthers being one of the most expensive teams to support as a fan and the return of Sam Darnold. We have all that and plenty more, so let's go ahead and get into it. We're starting right now. Panthers Nation, what up, dude? My name is Aaron Duncan here with the Necessary Blunt and Sports Talk. I do recap and analysis through videos like this, along with film breakdowns and all kind of things for the Panthers. So consider hitting that subscribe button down below and the bell icon if you want to stay up to date on all the news and updates from this crazy team, because obviously there's plenty of news every week and we have to look at the film and stuff like that. And I'm bringing you a very unique perspective and combination of content. So hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon. And also, please give the video a thumbs up if you will, because it really helps me out in the algorithm. It only takes you about 2 seconds. So the first topic up here on the docket is interim head coach Steve Wilks has fired DB's coach and cornerbacks coach Evan Cooper and defensive line coach Paul Pasqualoni. Now, Evan Cooper had recently got promoted to having more duties, with obviously Steve Wilks being the former DB's coach being elevated to head coach. Somebody had to pick up the slack for him, but now Evan Cooper has been relieved of his duties. Now, Evan Cooper was a Rule guy. He had been following around Rule for a while, and Pasqualoni has spent some time in Syracuse. Not really was a Rule guy, but he has some background with Phil Snow. Now, these shakeups may come as a surprise for some people, because some people says, if we're going to keep firing coaches, let's shake up some things on offense, because that's been the one that's been consistently letting us down. The defense has been up and down lately, of course, but some people think that there needs more shakeups. You know, at this point, though, with the interim head coach, how much of an effect does firing any coach do? Who knows? But it definitely sends a message and allows to get a new message into the player's ear. Now, Coach Wilks was asked about this, and he just felt like that he was evaluating the full roster and staff when it comes to players and coaches, and that he felt like it was a time for a change to get a different ear. Now, he said it wasn't a culmination of things. It was a culmination of things and not really one thing that kind of made things happen. But to me, the straw that had to break the camel's back is when you're going against a team like the Bengals, who's has some vulnerabilities up front, with them being the second most sacked quarterback in the league at Joe Burrow, but also having the fastest time to throw. So strategy seemed a little bit off. If you know that Joe Burrow is one of the fastest quarterbacks to get the ball out of his hands from snap to throw, why not have your defensive backs play a little bit closer than playing 8 to 9 to 10 yards off, giving them everything underneath? We saw them nickel and dime us for the most part. It wasn't really an amount of huge plays that happened to us, but it was death by not even 1,000 paper cuts. There was like really legit slashes, like 10, 12-yard chunks. They break off some big runs. Everything seemed to be working yesterday. And from a D-line perspective, how do you only get one sack and a couple pressures on one of the worst offensive lines when it comes to pass protection in the league? Stuff like that screams out to you, and it just seems like certain strategies didn't really get implemented. I don't know how much say-so on game planning that position coaches have, but I feel like a defensive coordinator in Al Holcomb or the head coach can make some adjustments at halftime, telling your DBs, or not even halftime, before that, because it was 35-0 at halftime, telling your DBs, hey, come up to maybe 6, 7 yards. They're not really challenging us deep like that. Give us some time, because obviously if the D-line and the defensive backs have to kind of work together. If the D-line can't get pressure, the defensive backs have to guard longer. But if the defensive backs leave these guys open too quick, the defensive line doesn't have a chance to get home to the quarterback. So those things work in conjunction, and neither one were working in conjunction yesterday against the Bengals. So heads rolled, and it kind of is what it is. You guys let me know down below in the comments how you feel about them firing Evan Cooper and Paul Pasqualoni. Are you rubbed a little bit the wrong way? Do you think anybody else deserved to be fired, or do you think anybody else deserves to be fired going forward? We're already on our interim coach, and a lot of the staff has been gutted, but do you think anybody else deserves to be let go? Let me know down below in the comments. Next up, PJ Walker has been declared the starting quarterback for the Thursday Night Football primetime game against the Atlanta Falcons, and Baker Mayfield has been announced to be the backup. Now, we know Baker Mayfield came in mop-up duty in the second half of the Bengals game, and it was already 35-0. Joe Burrow only played halfway through that third quarter, so it wasn't really a ton of things to get at, but it was allowed Baker Mayfield to get back into action through a touchdown pass, but it really wasn't too much to be had out there. He kind of just took what the defense gave, a lot of checkdowns, and we moved the ball at times, but obviously, like I said, this is against backups, seconds, third strings. The game was pretty much out of hand, so it's hard to evaluate apples for apples in this standpoint. Now, some of the strategy behind behind this, it's likely that since it's a short week, there's only going to be walkthroughs and t-shirts and shorts to get prepared for the Falcons game, especially after playing them 2 weeks ago and PJ having a good game. It only made sense to at least roll with PJ one more time. And if PJ plays bad, you have the mini bye, which gives you 10 days before your next game on the following Sunday, that you have a chance to get either Sam or Baker or PJ prepared for who's going to be that starter going forward, no matter what. We're going to talk about Sam Darnold, his return a little bit going forward to see how that affects everything and later on in this video. But it just seemed like the only move they could make at this time. And honestly, PJ made some bonehead mistakes, but the game plan wasn't really favorable in my opinion. DJ Moore didn't really get a ton of targets. We saw Spencer Brown getting multiple end arounds and pitch plays and gimmick plays. And Spencer Brown was a guy we elevated for the practice squad. Why are we drawing up specific plays with him in motion, getting the ball? It just didn't seem right. It seemed like we went more so focused to that Rams game plan where everything was side to side and in the backfield versus the game plan against the Atlanta Falcons where we really opened up the playbook and let things fly, or the Tampa Bay Bucks where we stay balanced with the run and the pass. It just seemed very conservative, and there's not really a lot of consistency on a week-to-week basis when it comes to being aggressive and attacking and pushing the ball downfield. Nevertheless, Baker Mayfield will be the backup, and although Sam is healthy right now, we don't know where he'll be at. Like I said, we'll talk about his status a little bit more. But in my opinion, I had put on record before that PJ had a bad game, a bad half at that. We've seen Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold have bad games themselves, multiple bad games, and still be the guy. At this point, neither one of them or anybody on this roster has done anything to solidify their starting quarterback position. Obviously, we're still in the running for the NFC South, believe it or not. Give PJ Walker the same leash that you would give some of these other quarterbacks when they play bad, because to me, he's just a guy just as similar as those guys. Neither one of them are all-world quarterbacks or all-world playmakers to be able to make anything happen. And we've seen PJ play well against the Atlanta. Give him one more shot at least. This seems to be the case for that. Regardless, like I've said before, I think PJ has done enough to extend his career in the NFL to some extent. What that role may be, still be TBD, but I think he has done enough to show that he can play and get the job done in this league under certain circumstances. Even maybe Johnny on the spot as a backup, whether with the Panthers or anybody else. You guys let me know down below in the comments if you felt that Baker Mayfield should have been named the starter after what you saw in the second half of that Bengals game, because you could easily put Baker back in the lineup, but kind of it is what it is. I want to know what you guys think, though, as far as who should be the starting quarterback. Next up, we got a little bit more clarification on the Rams' offer for Brian Burns. We heard they talked about two future first-round picks at 2024 and 2025 draft, but more reports have come out, according to Jonathan Jones, that there was actually a second-round pick added to that, bringing the compensation to two for a first-round pick, a second-round pick in 2024, and then a first-round pick in 2025. That is a lot of draft capital for a guy of Brian Burns' caliber. Now, we talked about Brian Burns, and I said that, yes, I figured out that the D-line is the driving force for this defense as is. That doesn't mean that we can't be improved. That doesn't mean that anybody should have a price. You know what I'm saying? After the Christian McCaffrey trade, like I said in previous videos, why not? You're willing to trade the best player on your team. Why is there not a price tag on anybody else? Because 2 first-round picks in a second seems a lot. I know Brian Burns has been improving steadily, has gotten better all around when it comes to defending the run and the pass. He already has 6 sacks this way halfway through the season, and his career high is about 9.5, so he seems to be on pace for double-digit, and also improving the tackle for loss, but he still struggles to set the edge at times. He's still getting better. We saw Bradley Chubb get traded from the Broncos to the Dolphins and subsequently get paid a 5-year, $110 million salary, and I don't think Chubb is anywhere close to Brian Burns' ability and potential just based off of health alone. But we can expect that number to be a starting point for Brian Burns at best. But we see other guys like Crosby or even Bosa that's going to get paid this year. If you're going to be paying a guy like Brian Burns in that ballpark, you want to see more consistency. You don't want to just be paying this guy based off potential when the guys that you're going to be paying him in that ballpark have already established themselves, like a Bosa, like a Crosby, those guys like that. So, yes, I know Brian Burns has that freak athlete potential to be better than some of those guys, but it's a tough thing to kind of judge, because in my opinion, negotiations should go squeaky clean. I don't want any kind of push-pull or back and forth on this deal. They shouldn't overpay for it if they don't to. Give him what he's worth, but it shouldn't be anything back and forth. If they're this gung-ho and focused on Brian Burns that they will turn down 2 first-round picks in a second after clearly trying to rebuild things in Carolina, That lets me know that they have a lot of confidence in him and that they should get this deal done. If anything, you got to pay your stars. I know the edge is a premium position, but this puts a lot more pressure on Brian Burns to perform and live up to not just the contract, but to the fact that we could have other draft capital to be able to replace him. You guys let me know down below in the comments how you feel about that deal. Do you think after adding that second round pick and 2 firsts that the Panthers should have taken it? Are they dumb for not taking it? Especially with Brian Burns still trying to find that double-digit sack season and really take himself to the next level? Let me know down below in the comments, because the edge class as far as free agency is not that great when it comes to ability. However, the draft, you can always figure some things out, but at the same time, you're going to have to pay a pretty premium for Brian Burns. He better be worth it. You guys let me know how you feel down below. Quarterback Sam Darnold has been activated off of the injured reserve list. Now, we know he went on the IR after that preseason ankle injury, and things have been a bit kind of weird as far as the situation. Now, you have a 21-day window to activate him after those 4 weeks on IR, and they literally waited until the 11th hour, with tomorrow, as in Tuesday, being the deadline to activate Sam. Now, according to Steve Wilks, we haven't really seen Sam at all this season in live action outside of that preseason game, so any chance for him to play could seem slim in the future at that, but they've already declared P.J. Walker as the starter and Baker Mayfield as the backup. Now, going into this mini bye week, things could change up after that Thursday night game when you have a few extra days of practice. Depending on how P.J. plays, I think anything can be up in the air. Unfortunately, P.J. and Baker have done nothing to stiff arm and keep Sam Darnold at bay. And so with an upgraded offensive line, and I think it's a little bit different, obviously, without Christian McCaffrey, and things being just pretty much almost for loss on the season, what can it hurt to play Sam Darnold? I don't think they owe anything. I personally do not want to see Sam Darnold on the field again. But like I said, the quarterbacks that we do have done nothing to keep him away. And so if the opportunity comes up and they feel like they want to look at Sam, he may get a shot. So we'll see what happens, but the prodigal son, Sam Darnold, has returned. I know the fans' favorite, Sam Darnold, has returned, whatever, but I want to get you guys' thoughts. How do you feel about Sam, and where do you think he should be in the pecking order? Does he deserve to get a shot at some point this year if PJ doesn't really do what he's supposed to do and handle his business to keep that starting spot? Let me know down below in the comments. The next topic to cover is a report coming out according to Boardroom, which is a kind of a TV show, talks about sports and the business side of it, sponsored by and founded by, or created by, produced, whatever you want to call it, produced by Kevin Durant. They came out with the graphic that shows some data that the Carolina Panthers are actually the 5th most expensive team to support as a fan. Wow. Number 5 overall in the league. And that's crazy to think about, because David Tepper has been the complete opposite of a picture of success since he has owned the team. But look at some of the other teams on this list: the Raiders, the Niners, the Patriots, and the Cowboys. What do those 4 franchises have in common? Obviously, they have a lot more history than the Carolina Panthers, so they have a lot more success and a bigger resume. But at the same time, the Raiders have a brand new stadium. The 49ers have a brand new stadium. The Patriots actually have a lot of success, and they've made some upgrades to their stadium. And the Cowboys, obviously, they have Jerry World. The Panthers, we're still sitting on Bank of America Stadium. As much as I love that stadium, it ain't like any of these other ones on this list, and they haven't had any success on that list either. So it doesn't make sense. The math isn't mathing for the lack of wins, yet the high price tag in a southern state at that, where the cost of living is a lot lower typically to other parts of the country, especially in terms of Vegas and Dallas and San Francisco or the Patriots. The math ain't working out. And to be charging these kind of prices, even in the Joe Biden economy where everything is inflated at this point, it doesn't add up. I've been to multiple games this year. I do it for the experiences. You can't put a price on memories. But $209 total, according to that graphic, seems like a pretty hefty price, especially when you may not have a chance to even sing Sweet Caroline after the game and enjoy a victory. So what are we really paying for here? And it's no wonder that the report came out that since David Tepper has owned the team despite not having a lot of success and a lot of fans being pissed off about supporting the team because of various moves, the value has increased exponentially of the Carolina Panthers franchise. It's a win-win situation for David Tepper, whether the team wins or loses. He's either getting money or getting a tax write-off. And we're getting hit in the pockets where it hurts the most. You guys let me know down below in the comments, how do you feel about the Panthers being the 5th most expensive team to support? And how much support are you willing to give these guys without them winning anymore? And you plan on going to any more games this year? Because I'm done, in my opinion, too. I'll be watching them at home. Let me know how you feel down below in the comments. And the last thing on the docket, one of the craziest stats you'll ever see is that the Carolina Panthers are like what good luck Chuck, bad luck Chuck, whatever you call it. I know there's some movie for it. You want whatever you want to call this, but in the NFL through 8 weeks or through 9 weeks, whatever you want to say, teams that face the Carolina Panthers are 0-8 in their games following the week that they play Carolina. Let me break it down a little bit more. So a team will play Carolina 1 week, and this year, whatever it's been a get-right game for them. They've been able to take advantage of whatever the Panthers have going on in their poor troubles. But the following week, they've lost every time. Let's look at the list. Week 1, the Browns beat the Panthers, but they ended up losing the following week to the Jets. The Giants beat the Panthers, but they lost to the Cowboys the following week. The Saints, they end up losing 28-25 to the Vikings. The Cardinals, they beat the Panthers, but they lost to the Eagles the next week. The Niners beat the Panthers, but lost to the Falcons the following week. And then the Rams, they beat the Panthers, but they had a bye in week 7, but they ended up losing to the 49ers in week 8. And then, of course, week 7, the Bucks, they beat the Panthers. I mean, they lost to the Panthers, but they ended up losing 27-22 against the Ravens the following week. And last but not least, the Atlanta Falcons, who doesn't need any help being cursed, but neither are the Los Angeles Chargers. But when you had the Falcons doing their thing about how they're cursed, and then you add it with this type of Panthers curse, a perfect storm, the Falcons lost in week 8 to the Chargers. Now, this is a crazy stat. Now, what kind of correlation can we draw from this? Is that the Panthers are just so fast and physical, and they bring the pain per se, and they may walk to the Panthers, but they end up limping on the way back home after they play them. I don't know what it is, but apparently the Panthers are putting the hurting on guys, and they're like the bad luck Chuck. Whoever they play next, you're not going to have a good outcome no matter how good or bad you played against the Panthers. Such a weird stat, but I want to get how you guys feel. How do you think about this stat down below? Do you think it's because of what I said, or you think it's just dumb luck? You know, this is the one thing the Panthers can hang their hat on this year for something that's consistent, but it ain't really too hard to sing about because those 0-8 record ain't doing nothing for the Carolina Panthers and their hopes for this year. Nevertheless, you guys let me know how you feel about any of the topics that we discussed in this video today, and we'll chop it up down below in the comments and see what you guys have going on and your thoughts on this. But you guys make sure you stay subscribed to the channel. Hit that bell icon. That way you don't miss any more videos. I'll see you next time. Peace.